Glow plugs. A glow flyer's best friend or worst enemy. They're a mystery to me still, even after 30 plus years in this hobby. So today's video, as you've figured out by now, is going to talk about glow plugs. And let me just tell you that this is not going to be a technical discussion because I am not a chemical engineer. I am simply a person that must have glow plugs to enjoy my hobby. And with that said, they still confound and confuse me at times too. So I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light to some of the newer people joining the glow crowd and joining the channel, and also explain how unorganized I am at times with a lot of things, and glow plugs is one of them. We're going to cover a lot of things in this. I'm probably going to ramble because I don't have a set script for this, so I'm just going to be going by the seat of my pants. But what I'm going to do is show you show you the glow plugs that I have and how they're currently stored. And this also is when it's going to tie into the storage of them. It's also going to tie into one of Chris Perky Plains RC Chris's latest videos about storage tools, and how that video inspired me to change the way I deal with my glow plugs. So if you look at the table, here is, and if you include this bag, this is probably representative of 98% of all the glow plugs I have. So let's just start with this thing here. This is a tin, just a metal tin that I've got the lid on the bottom of it that I keep in my toolbox that I take out to my flying site, or not flying site, my engine running site. And it has, as you can see, it's got a ton of plugs in it. Now, can I tell you that I know which of these plugs is good and which is bad? Or are there bad ones in here? I don't know. Probably. Yes. No. So I am incredibly unorganized when it comes to maintaining and managing my glow plugs. Okay, so here's another example. This is the top little container that slides into my toolbox that I take to the flying, I keep saying flying, I take to my engine running site, and in the top of it I've got glow plugs. I've got some in this bin, I've got some in this bin, I've got some in this bin, I've got one here, I've got packages here, so it's like, and then there's just screws. So it's like, what the hell am I doing here? And then these two Fox plugs, a standard long and a standard short, brand new, were just sitting in my toolbox. And you know, it was just kind of ridiculous because it's like, these things are like gold, and for me to store and treat gold like this, especially when these things are really expensive nowadays, is just really ridiculous. So I don't know, what do you guys do? How do you guys store your glow plugs, and how do you know when to throw them away? Obviously, it's pretty obvious that when you throw them away if they completely quit burning, but as I've seen in some last videos in the last few weeks, I don't install plugs in my engines that I'm running that aren't glowing, that don't glow well. And yet, we've found that by simply changing a plug, you can completely change the characteristics of how a particular engine runs using the same fuel. And that doesn't make sense really, because I've got a little, so I went to about 3 or 4 different websites that I found, or web links that I found that talk about glow plugs and the theory behind them, what they're used for, how you determine the ones you need to use, and that kind of thing. And typically I'm running either FAI fuel, 5%, maybe 10% in most of my runs, and that's it. So according to what I've been reading, that would mean that I need hot plugs. And so for the average sport flyer who's flying 40 to 60 size engines, everybody just says OS number 8. Okay, OS number 8. Is that a hot plug? Is it a cold plug? It's not a cold plug. It's either a medium or a medium hot. So, and that's another thing that falls into the equation. Is like, you know, OS, Fox, and some other vendors, big vendors, have these glow plug charts. And they rate their chart. Oh, this is a cold, this is a hot, this is a medium. Well, what are they basing it on? They're not putting a temperature on there, and they're not comparing it to other vendors' glow plugs. They're just saying this is our heat range. So who's to say that a Fox's medium plug isn't a OS's hot plug? So you have no idea. I haven't been, in 30 plus years, I've never been able to make sense out of that. So it's like, and here I've got a freshly charged up nice starter here. So I'm going to just pull out some plugs, because one of the things that I think is interesting here is I've got some verbiage blurbs that I did cut and paste on that I'm going to put on the screen here. And this one I'm going to read now says high nitro equals low methanol. So what they're saying in this ad was, or this article was, that the higher nitromethane content fuel you use, there's less methanol in there. And methanol is what reacts, the catalytic reaction with the glow plug element, which is typically platinum. So it says here, high nitro, you need a cold plug that reacts more to methanol. Low nitro, which means you've got higher methanol, you need a hot or hotter plug to react less to the methanol. So that would mean that since I'm typically running a low nitro content fuel compared to, I mean, a lot of people run 15 and 20, which I consider 15 high. That means I need hot plugs all the time. So I'm always using either an OS number 8 or an A3 plug for FAI, because that's supposed to be real hot, and I do not have my OS glow plug chart here available. But it says here, I'm going to read this verbatim, and I'm going to put it on the screen now too. It says a fundamental difference between glow plugs is the heat rating, where different plugs are designed to burn hotter or cooler. Yes, we have covered that. But there's no correlation between vendors. So I've not seen a chart or anything specific, technical, professional that says a Fox standard short plug is equivalent in heat to an OS number 8 or an OS A3. I've never seen that. So it's like every vendor can put their little chart together, and then you just have to kind of experiment, which can be expensive because they're not cheap now. You can say, well, I'm going to try these, and you try them and they don't work for your application, and then what? You just pissed away 10 or 15 bucks a piece. So essentially a hot glow plug retains its heat for longer, whereas a cold plug cools down quicker between burns. The difference is made possible simply by having different thickness filaments. Okay, so we have different thickness filaments. That's interesting. Who's got microscopic eyes, or eyes that can actually look in there and tell the freaking difference in the size of the thickness of the filament? And we're going to attempt to do some of this here eventually, but it's like, okay, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. You got a thicker element, retains heat more, whatever. I can't go in there and micrometer. I can't go in there and measure it. I'll screw the plug up. So it's like you have to sit there and look at it. A thicker gauge one will stay hotter for longer, but bear in mind that we're talking fractions of a second between strokes. As a general rule, high revving engines would favor a cold plug, whilst slower revving ones would prefer a hotter plug. Again, refer to your engine instruction manual for heat recommendations. Okay, so OS manuals are going to say OS plugs. Fox manuals are going to say use Fox plugs. Rossi manuals are going to say Rossi plugs. Do you have to do that? No. Absolutely not. So referring to the owner's manual for your engine is just another advertisement for them. It's not giving you any unbiased information. Let's see here. Okay, here it goes. There's another one. For the average RC flyer, say with a 46 two-stroke engine commonly found in most RC trainers or sport planes, a glow plug such as an OS number 8 is a popular choice for many flyers. This type represents your typical glow plug for RC aircraft. Okay, and here's where it gets interesting. But like most things in life, choosing the best plug for your engine can be a case of trial and error, which means cost. For this reason, it's always best to buy a selection of plugs, so if your engine isn't running well from one day to the next, you can try a different one. Yeah, that makes sense, and people have to do that, but personally, I'd like to just know that the plugs I'm using work. So I don't have to sit there and play around with experimenting with plugs, because if I'm out at the flying field, which I know many people say, well, you don't go to the flying field. Well, I used to. I never went out there to dick around. I went out there to fly, and I always had my stuff together so that I could fly. I'd go out there and I'd fly. Now, I'd see tons of people out there playing with their engines for 3/4 of the day and flying 2 times because they couldn't get something right. Either they couldn't tune it or they were having plug issues. Imagine that, plug issues. Now you throw into the mix, so say you understand plugs perfectly. And you know, I like OS number 8 plugs. They work fine for my application. I'm always going to buy OS 8 plugs. Now throw into the mix counterfeit plugs. Now, I've got a whole video on that, and OS's website helped with that. Now you throw into the mix counterfeit plugs. So Chinese companies are making counterfeit OS plugs. And it's not easy to tell the difference between them from an advertisement photograph. The easiest way to tell the difference in them is because if they are $5 cheaper, they're fake. Period. Don't buy glow plugs that are $2 and $3 or $4. They're not real. They can't be unless they're on Facebook Marketplace and somebody's just trying to dump them, which is where I get a lot of mine. So, I've said a lot of stuff here about that, and here's one of the best things that I saw, which is what I'm going to do here right now, in addition to showing you how I'm going to try to attempt to sort these. The way to test a glow plug is to remove it from the cylinder head, place it on the igniter. If the filament immediately glows a healthy orange color, then the plug is healthy. If there is no glow or a weak one, try a different plug and check the voltages of your igniter. Okay, so that all makes sense. Of course it makes sense. Now, what I may end up having to do here is I may have to turn down a light so that you can see this more. Let me see if shutting these side lights off helps at all. So we understand now that the best way to test, and so here's more plugs. So I have more plugs. I have plugs laying around. It's like, how the... whatever. So this one looks like an OSF plug. Supposedly on the hot range, it's a hot plug. Can you see that? It's glowing. It's glowing orange. Boy, I don't know. Let me try and zoom in here and see if we can get a little bit better shot of this. So immediately shows orange. I guess that's immediate. Here's another OSF plug. That one looked brighter, but yet it's got more dark caramely look on the bottom. So it's like, now do I start sorting these? Actually, that wasn't an OSF plug because that was a, I think that's a, I turned off the lights and now I can't see. I think that was a Hanger 9 super plug because it's got a gold tip on it. That one definitely looks brighter than maybe. And so that's the other thing is it's like well, maybe. That's an idle bar plug. That looks like a Super Tiger plug. That's glowing bright. But of course many people don't use idle bar plugs anymore. This one, and the other thing is once you've taken a plug out of its package, unless you're super good at remembering what they look like, how the hell do you know what they are? This one's got a sharp point on it. It kind of looks like a Super Tiger plug to me. It glows really well, but yet it's a 2-stroke plug because it's not, and that's the other thing. Then you got 2- and 4-stroke plugs. Some are longer, physically longer than others, and that's where I'm hoping I have an Enya plug in here. Let me look and see if I've got an Enya. Yeah, here's an Enya plug. So this is probably an Enya number 3. Yeah, this is an Enya number 3 plug. Enya number 3. Maybe a Hanger 9 and an OSF plug. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell that or not. I'm trying to line up the flats on the... The Enya plug is shorter. And yet Enya engines come with Enya number 3 plugs. I mean, Enya 4-stroke engines. And they say the Enya number 3 plug is good for 2- and 4-stroke engines. Let's look and see what this one looks like. That one seems to glow. So I'm looking at it through the viewfinder or the LCD up here, but if I look at it down like this, it might look different to me. That one looks like it's glowing very well. So I mean, it's one of those things where I bet you in just the 5 plugs that I've tested here, we might see that they operate differently in the same engine using the same fuel, but yet visually the elements all look like they're glowing fine to me. So I'm saying, well, those are good. So this is one of those things I'm going to have to go through here and do this and sort this crap out. This one just glowed. instantly hot, and it looks like crap. It's dark, it's a Fox idle bar plug, but yet it just, boom, it just lit up like the sun. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, is like, whatever, I gotta go through, it's like, how do I find the time in my day to sit there and go through those plugs like that? And in this container here, these packages, I should say these two packages, this is a OS A3 plug, which is also the subject of one of their counterfeit things, so it could be a counterfeit plug. One of these packages, now I know OS, they're older, one's an older plug than the other, so the artwork is a different one, but one of these plugs is fake, and one of them is from China. And off the top of the head, without remembering or watching that video I put out, I can't remember what the characteristics of them were. So I have a fake and a real plug here, and I can tell the difference if I look at the outside, because the fake Chinese ones are laser engraved, whereas the real OS ones are not. So that one looks like a real OS plug. And I know you can't see this, and I don't expect you to see it. This one doesn't even have a marking on it. I don't know what the hell that is. So, and that's what I do. I'll just be like, I don't know what the hell this is, it doesn't look right. Let's throw it in bin number whatever. That one glows really well. See, one of these in this bin, that one glows really well. One of these in the bin, I was running an engine just a couple of weeks ago, and it was running like crap. This one's dead. So there's your example of a completely dead plug, and for the life of me, I believe that looking at this looks to me, I'll have to get my magnifier out. I think that actually looks like that might be a real OS plug. But it's like, what do you do with your plugs? And the other thing is, you can have a plug like this that looks like it's glowing really well, but the filament might be deformed a little bit, like maybe there was some pre-ignition or something, detonation or something that took place, and it blew the element off to the side. That's kind of what this one looks like. So it's like you either have to use a microscope or a really powerful eye loop and sit there and inspect these things. Well, who's going to take the time to do that at the field? When you're out there trying to fly, and it's sunny maybe, and that's really going to be challenging to see this. So it's like, what the hell is going on here? So that's a bad plug. Let's say that's the bad plug bin. I don't know, until I get this organized better. Now the thing that is interesting was, in this little tin, I had this Weber number 4 glow plug. And I think I used it for doing that some Weber engine, and I think this is the plug. I think this looks like the plug right here. Looks like shit. I don't know if that's the right plug or not, but I really wanted to keep that one. This is a K&B plug. These are typically pretty good, but this is an idle bar plug. Wow! Look at that. Can you see that? That thing glows outstanding. I thought I had a K&B 4-stroke plug in here. God, I don't know. But anyway, so I want to show you more plugs. These are plugs, I can zoom out of here now. These are all new plugs, never been used that I can think of, because they're all in packages. And this is the ones that really need to be organized as well as the other ones. So that's the other thing, is when you go to organize these things, if you can't tell the manufacturer or the heat range, and some of them aren't marked. OS plugs are the only ones that I'm aware of that are actually marked. Actually, Sato plugs are marked. They'll say something on them. They'll say Sato or SS or something like that. K&B, none of the other plugs are marked. So you either have to remember what the body and the tip looks like, but how do you organize them into little tote bins if you don't keep all of these little things? So it's like, okay, so here we go. Here I've got a sleeve or set of 4 OS number 3 plugs. Onion number 3 plugs. Great. Kick ass. These are some of the best plugs made. I love them. I'm glad I got that. Here's another number 3. Okay, so here's an Onion number 5. I'd have to see what that means. I'm not sure what number 5 means. It doesn't say there. I'd have to look that up. Okay, so I'm a 4-stroke guy, so here's my OSF glow plugs, and there may even be more in here. Let's look at Fox plugs, and I've got quite a few Fox plugs, thankfully, because they are... Fox plugs, in my opinion, are some of the best plugs. I've had very good luck with Fox plugs. Here's a Fox plug. It says it's a miracle plug. Superior idle for 2-cycle and 4-cycle engines. And this is a long plug. I mean, that looks... it's the same length as an OSF plug. And I used to use Fox Miracle plugs almost exclusively in the mid-90s. So here's, oh wow, cool. I've got 2 more Miracle plugs. That's super cool. This one is a Miracle plug also. It's taped up. Well, here's these other Foxes. And here's a Fox Standard Long. How is that different from a Miracle plug? I don't know. I don't know how that differs from Miracle Plug Standard Long. I'd have to take them out, and I don't want to take these out of the package because then you're back to if they come out of it, it's like, what the hell is it? Fox Standard Short. This plug was working very, very well. This, in my opinion, is the best equivalent or replacement for an OS number 8, because if I remember correctly, one of the engines I was running where it was running like crap, and then I changed to this plug. It totally transformed the way the engine ran. Maybe it was that HP Gold Cup 20 engine. I'm not sure. All I know is this standard short Fox plug is awesome. I like those a lot. There aren't too many Fox plugs that I don't like. Now this is a Fox RC Long with an idle bar. I used to use the idle bar ones. Here's some more Miracle plugs. Cool, I got a whole bunch of Miracle plugs. So I haven't looked at a lot of these in a long time. So I also have some of these. I just got these from that Facebook Marketplace fellow Chuck. These are Fireball plugs and a couple McCoys. So he had sleeves of these, and he asked me if I wanted some, and I was like, yeah, I want 2 of everything you've got. So that's what I got. So MC9, if I recall correctly, is a real hot, I can't remember, I was looking these up. MC9, I know that when I used to use MC59 plugs years and years ago, and they were okay, they didn't seem to last long. I'm not sure what the MC9 is, I'd have to look it up, see if it's hot or cold. But then you've got these Fireball plugs, and I don't know for sure if these are still made. And I don't know if these are just really old or if these are newer ones if they're still made. But this one says engines 049 to 60 standard. I thought these at least said whether they were hot or cold because I had to look these up too. This one has an idle bar plug. Okay, so yeah, this one says hot. Okay, so this one says hot. And I can't tell, doesn't have an idle bar. So this is probably like maybe an OS number 8 equivalent. Fireball, it doesn't have a number or anything. It's like red and it says hot. Fireball, super cool. So this would be for high revving, high nitro engines maybe. It says super cool. And it probably doesn't have, and it's super short too, real short. So that's those. Here's another Fox Miracle plug. So here are some OS plugs, some OS number 8s. Damn, here's another. Here's another. Oh. And the thing is, if you're trying to identify whether these are counterfeit or not by the engravings on the body, it's really tough because unless that thing is sitting in there such that you can see it. Ooh, that one's open. Such that you can see it, you really can't necessarily tell, so I almost have to open it up. But there were markings on the packaging that kind of denoted. But then, of course, over time, some of these, like this is an older style plug or older style advertising, and this looks like it's newer. So let's see here. Here's an old OS plug. It's an old Type F. Look how old this OS plug is. This plug is probably 30 years old, if not more, just because of the packaging, the way the packaging is. And you can definitely tell the how old many of these are, because if there's no website listed on the package, like these OS number 8s, if it doesn't say www something, this one says www something, this one does not. So this is old packaging here, this is newer packaging, and I can't tell you dates or years or anything. All I can say is if it doesn't have a website on there, it predates probably 1990, 91. I don't know when they started using websites for that kind of stuff. Here is a Hanger 9, I think that was supposed to say 4-cycle plug. Yeah, that's a Hanger 9 4-cycle plug. These are also very good plugs. Many Sato engines would come from Horizon Hobbies with these installed in them. Here's a Thunderbolt plug, RC long. Doesn't say anything about the heat range of this. And then, has anybody ever heard of these Merlin plugs? I got some of these, and I used some of them kind of, but I didn't really care for them at all. Merlin plugs. I think I had 3 of them. Hot 4-stroke engine. So I don't know. Another standard short, another Fox standard short. Here's a Sato SS plug. That will definitely say Sato on one flat and then SS on another. Geez, these things are made of butter or something. Another OSF plug. Here's a anniversary edition number 8 plug. Limited gold edition. I won't ever use this one. This is a 50-year anniversary one, I believe. Yeah, no, 80th. 80th anniversary edition. Gold plug. 886 Thunderbolt. No idea. I might be able to read that. So that brings us to the organizational point, and if you stuck with this video this long, then kudos to you, because I think I probably would have bailed on it by now. So according to what Chris from Perky Planes, he got one of these types of things, and these things look like they'd be great. So what I wanted to do real quick was see how big, because some of the Plano ones, I had a Plano one that I got from Fleet Farm, and it wasn't as wide as this. And I was afraid that, because I don't want to necessarily go breaking these things apart, some of these, I want to just be able to store them. So the Plano one I had narrower bins, and I took that one back. So it's like these small ones here, I'll just put, loose plugs in. But then again, it's like this is obviously not going to be nearly big enough for me to organize all of my crap here. Not by a long shot. So it's like, it goes right back to the same thing. What the hell do I do with something like this? Obviously, this doesn't work. I mean, it kind of works. If you want to sit there for 10 minutes and try to find a plug that looks fine, I don't know. This doesn't, I don't feel like this works for me anymore. It takes up too much space in my box when I'm trying to find tools. And if this thing falls out and the lid comes off, then you got a lot of expletives coming out of your mouth. Something like this would be much better. But, so, I don't know where to go with this video other than just to end it and say, look, don't look to me for expert advice on glow plugs or your applications. I read off what I go by and what works for me, and what I've also found in the last few weeks doing certain engine runs is if you've got an engine that should be running fine and dandy and it isn't, change plugs. Just change plug. Change to something else. Not the same vendor, same plug. Change to something completely different and give it a shot. You may find, as I found and was totally shocked, that your engine suddenly transforms into an excellent running engine. Now, it could be that your plug is degraded, but I typically used to like to think that plugs were kind of like light bulbs. When they went bad, they went bad. But I don't think that's necessarily true because, like I said, I've seen some where it looks like the filament can be kind of moved or compressed, and they still glow. They may not glow, and they may still even glow fairly bright and look fine, and if you just quickly look at how it glows and you put it in your engine and it runs like crap, maybe that plug is not centered and it's compressed or it's off to the side or whatever. So I mean, these glow plugs are they're not just simple little deals, and they can be your nemesis if you're not really on top of it. And as it appears, I'm not necessarily on top of my glow plug thing here either. So I think I'm just going to shut the video off and sit here and put my igniter, freshly charged igniter. That's another thing. Don't be going at this thing with an igniter that you haven't freshly charged, because that's going to give you inconclusive or possibly erroneous results also and lead to even more problems. So it's like I've got all my chargers are charging right now, so I can sit here and go through this and try to make sense out of all this madness, because the thing is, I've got these plugs. Oh yeah. I've got plugs sitting here, so my camera just shut off because I must have been talking for more than 30 minutes, so I don't know how long it had been like that. I've got plugs sitting here on the table. These were just sitting here, and it's because I get engines all the time, and most engines come with plugs. And I like to look at them and see if they look like they could be used. Many times I use them, and maybe that's not the right thing to do either. So I know this has been a huge, long video. It is what it is, and I'm done talking about glow plugs for now. So that's what it is. Thank you.